So a few weeks ago we made a video called 15 Facts You Need to Know About Starfield. Obviously there's a lot going on in the world of Starfield, so I'm sure there's a lot more information we can pull on, and that is what brings us here today. And what is up guys, Inch from the Denmen here, and today I wanted to take a look at another 15 facts you need to know about Starfield. We're going to be going deeper into a lot of different areas of the game this time around, so if you are excited, make sure you hit that like button and comment what you want to see from Starfield. And don't forget, if you missed out on our last 15 facts video, link will be in the description box below. But with that being said, we have a lot to go over, so kick back, strap into your seat, and let's blast off into today's video. So the first thing I want to talk about is an update we got on the Starfield showcase. So we already knew about when we would be getting both the game and its showcase when they announced it during the latest trailer. This kind of fits in as a developer direct, which gives us a deep dive into the game itself. We actually had one of these directs in January with studios like Arcane with Redfall, Mojang with their new Minecraft game, and a couple of others out there. What's interesting about Starfield Showcase is that it is kind of an extension of the Xbox one we will be getting on the same day. What that means is Xbox is hosting their annual summer showcase on June 11th of 2023. It just so happens that Starfield lands on the same day but at different times. The Xbox One will start at 1 PM Eastern, and immediately following that will be the deep dive into everything Starfield. This is exciting because instead of Starfield having a 5-minute trailer for the game, we will be getting an in-depth look right after the Xbox showcase so we can get a good look into what we need to know about the game. Next, I want to take a look at the story for the game. Now, we went off the background information for Starfield in the last video, so a little refresher is that about 50 light years away from our solar system is the Settled Systems, which houses the main quest for the game. There are a lot more planets and systems out there, but consider the planets housing New Atlantis and Aquila City the main ones for the game. There isn't much we know about the story for the game, but we have these disc-looking objects, and from what we can tell, they will be playing a big role for the game. Somehow these discs grant visions to the player, and that is how we get wrapped up in the main questline. We know from the trailers that we will be trying to uncover the mysteries of the galaxy and to understand the meaning of human life among the stars. I know up to this point the story for the game has been a little vague, but I think this is the right choice all things considered. I like that they are keeping the story close to their chest and not letting anything leak on that end. Personally, I can't wait to see what the story of the game will evolve into. But I'm curious, what do you guys make of the story for the game? Drop a comment letting me know. From our first 15 facts video, I gave a few main factions that will play a big role for the game. Well, there are actually a couple of little ones we have heard here and there, so let's just run through what we know about them. The first one I want to talk about gets me the most excited because I think they have a lot of potential in Starfield. The Ecliptic Mercenaries are described as bounty hunters who travel across space to carry out dangerous missions from their clients. I would love to see them as a playable faction just from the vibe they give off. This one has a lot of potential as a great space bounty hunter storyline and would definitely become a fan favorite very quickly. If done correctly, Bethesda has a great faction to introduce to the player, and I can't wait to see what the Ecliptic Mercenaries are like in Starfield. Next up is the fanatical cult of House Va'Run. This one we don't have a lot of info on except that they are made up of religious zealots. This doesn't give us a lot to go off on, but what makes them so unique is the fact that they are a group of zealots found throughout the Settled Systems, which is more of a frontier that humans haven't fully explored. If I had to make a comparison just from a brief description we have on them right now, I would say that they're like the children of Adam from the Fallout series. I would be interested to see if we were able to join House Va'Run like we were able to do with the children of Adam in Far Harbor. We will just have to wait and see on that end. The Spacers are a faction that we know the least about except for their violent nature. I imagine that they will become somewhat of an antagonist for the player, but it could go in a lot of different ways the more Bethesda reveals. Now we know that planets will play a big factor for exploration in the game. I mean, there are over 1,000 of them, so I assume we will be seeing a number of hidden Easter eggs throughout the game. For our number 4 spot, I've gathered a list of planets starting with Jemison. This one houses the capital of the United Colonies with the city of New Atlantis. As far as we know of right now, the surrounding area of Jemison is mostly forest and rocky mountains. This will most likely be a more advanced planet with the city of New Atlantis being a focal point in the Settled Systems. Next one up is the first world we got to see in the gameplay showcase with Crete. This location is home to an abandoned research facility that we see from the gameplay, but mostly consists of barren lands with rock formations scattered throughout. This is exactly what you would expect from a desolate moon and is very reminiscent of a lot of other space sci-fi adventures. There are 2 other major planets outside of the system of Sol, with the one that houses Neon and the world with Aquila City. Neon is a very unique location, not just inside its city limits, but the actual planet itself. If we take a look at concept art, we can see that Neon is found on a mostly water-based world, and that leads to a lot of potential features, including underwater travel. This is something that has been lacking from other Bethesda titles, and I hope that we get to see it fleshed out in some way for Starfield. The actual city of Neon holds a very unique vibe that is similar to what Good Neighbor was in Fallout 4. A very crime-ridden city which could give Starfield a different look into the space genre, which I am definitely looking forward to. One thing that we already know about is that we will be able to join a faction on Neon with Ryujin Industries. The way we will be able to join them is by being hired, and that is very different from what we have seen from other Bethesda games. Aquila City has me very interested because it looks like it will be more of a space western type of place. The area surrounding the city is that of dry and mountainous regions. If there was a place that was similar to Aquila, I would have to say it would be that of Tatooine. The desert planet of Tatooine reminds me a lot of the capital city of the Freestar Collective, not just in environment, but also in how it will be. Aquila City looks very much like a remote planet home to scoundrels and bounty hunters. This could tell a different tale than that of the other main planets with a more western vibe, and having the Freestar Collective there only makes it that much better. Set in the Narian system, we have the moon of Vectera. Not much is known about Vectera, with it being the place where the outpost building feature was shown off. This dry and mountainous moon is still very unknown, but from what we can tell, the temperature there is negative 199 degrees, so make sure you bring your winter coat. This is a good contrast to what we saw with Crete, so I'm glad to see a good variation between the many resource worlds of the game. I want to talk for a second about Mars, because from what we can tell, it will be playing a major role in the story for Starfield. Early on in the main quest, we will be returning to our home solar system, which they have labeled as the Old Neighborhood. To me, this brings up a lot of questions as to what has transpired to make us leave and go to the settled systems. We know that we will be dealing with uncovering the secrets of what happened to Earth and even traveling to Mars. On Mars, you will find an early colony from when they just left Earth, which has been named Sidonia. We do see a little bit of it during the E3 showcase with a settlement in the Mars rover, but there are still many secrets to uncover as well. I want to give Earth its own section because this is the planet that I am most excited to see. To be able to return to our home planet is pretty awesome, and I can't wait to see what we find. I love the idea of uncovering the truth about what happened to Earth, and could be a very interesting location. Just think of all the opportunities on Earth, so hopefully it is just as good as we all expect it to be. Something that is getting a lot of people excited for Starfield is the idea of how space travel is going to work in the game. There are a couple of features that really makes me feel that spaceships in the game are going to be some of the best we have ever seen. For one thing, we will be able to pilot it, customize how it looks, and have dogfights in the game. The customization goes beyond just paint colors and how it will look. You will be able to piece together the entire ship from the cockpit to the boosters and even its storage. This is pretty awesome, and the idea that we can change it around in a lot of different ways gets me very excited. A little more obscure thing, but we can also dock our ship into different space stations. I know this isn't as exciting of a feature, but still, it's the little things like these that makes me believe that we are going to see a great mechanic in Starfield. Compared to the spaceships in the game, something that not a lot of people are talking about is the scanning system of Starfield. The feature kind of removes the fact that all of the worlds will be procedurally generated to a certain extent. This is something we don't know much about, but it is possible that each of the many planets have a unique creature, flora, or resource associated with them. This would make each of the worlds beneficial to travel to, and on top of that, the scanning system would be used as a way to identify what you have found on each one. It would fit as some sort of a way to keep track of your progress in the game, and to also let the player know what they are missing for other features out there. The scanning system looks to be something that will allow other tools out there like outpost building and spaceship travel to work to the best they possibly can be. This next one kind of goes off the scanning system with the creatures in Starfield. From what we have seen in the E3 showcase, there will be so many out there in the world space. We can see a number of different ones, like some that look like dinosaurs, giant crabs, and weird monstrosities of all kinds. I'm mostly looking forward to seeing how we can interact with these alien creatures, because we know some will be hostile, but what about those that are just minding their own business? It will be interesting to see the level of design that went into these aliens and how much of them there truly are. These next two kind of go hand in hand with each other, but I actually want to talk about the armor for the game. Now, armor has always been a big part of character progression in Bethesda games. The higher level you get, the harder the enemies, which means you will need a higher base defense. This time around, I think there's a chance it will work a little differently in a lot of ways. I do still think we will follow a similar approach with the higher level, higher defense going on, but with things like crafting and a deeper skill tree, I think there will be a lot more options for build crafting. Say you wanted to have a Juggernaut build with extreme defense, there will be perks along with different mods you can spec into so you can increase its potency. They can take it even deeper for gameplay options like stealth. Maybe the type of clothing you wear will either help or harm your chances at being found by enemies. You saw this a little in Skyrim, but when you were able to basically be invisible at all times no matter what you were wearing, it's hard to compare to it. These build options go beyond just the armor you wear, but also into the weapons you use as well. I can really see them having armor that increases certain weapon damage across the board and having equipment synergize with each other. There are a lot of different options they could take when it comes to the armor in Starfield. I hope they take a look into the build crafting side of the game because that will make it easier for replayability and just fine tune the systems with all the RPG elements. Sneaking has been an underdeveloped system in games like Fallout 4, and even when they took a big step forward with it in Skyrim, it felt too overpowered at times. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that those who have played Skyrim more than once have definitely used the Sneak Archer build because it was just the best and easiest one out there. Don't get me wrong, it felt very rewarding when you would be able to snipe bandits from far away without them knowing, but it just made the game too easy. I guess this also has to do with how NPCs reacted to having their buddy shot right next to them and acting like nothing happened, but to me stealth needs to be done better for Starfield. It should still have that rewarding feeling that we saw in Skyrim, but also be a little more challenging to not make it the easiest thing to do in the game. I really want them to take it the furthest it possibly can be. Pickpocketing is a subtle feature that is making its return in Starfield. I know this is kind of an obvious one for it to be in Starfield, but nonetheless it makes our list. This also kind of goes along with sneaking in a way and should be done a lot better in Starfield. Again, the feature works fine in past Bethesda games, but it could still be done a little more in depth and overall more challenging. From the earliest we have seen the game, we heard that Starfield will be an RPG-oriented title. What could this mean? Well, for starters, it will be going back to the days of Oblivion and Morrowind and bringing in backgrounds and traits to flesh out your character. This will harken back to the days of heavily RPG-styled games and be something that really involves the player in the story. I'm excited to see where they go with Starfield, but from all reports, its RPG elements will play a big role for the game. Something that I'm really looking forward to seeing more on is the loot system for the game. How similar will it be to Fallout 76, or will it be more like Skyrim with unique weapons designed for singular items? Fallout 76 had a tier system when it came to loot in the game. There would be stars next to the logo for the item going from 1 to 2 and so on. Even though I think this is flawed in design, it did help with the replayability for the game. Since it's a multiplayer game, weapons have less meaning for the unique design and instead on which perks they rolled with. The unique designs are something that Skyrim handled really well in my opinion with swords like Chill Rend or Wind Shear. People look back on these items fondly for their distinctive appearance and would display them with pride for being that secret loot that they can go out and find. It's moments like these that I want to see return in Starfield, and I think there's a real shot for it. Even though I think crafting will play a big role for the game, I can still see them having tons of unique weapons and armor for players to find. I am definitely looking forward to seeing how they will handle the loot system for Starfield because they can go in a lot of different ways. DLC is something that we will be seeing in Starfield. It is unknown to what extent we will be seeing it, but I imagine it will follow a similar structure to that of Fallout 4. Since outpost building will be a big part to the game, I can see them adding on to it over time in between story-based DLC for the game. Think of it like the Season Pass in Fallout 4 where it went Automatron, Wasteland Workshop, and then Far Harbor. I imagine that DLC will actually be a lot bigger with them adding entire new worlds, but that is still left up for debate. The final topic I want to talk about are the games we know that are coming after Starfield. Since Starfield is coming out this year, Bethesda will start to transition into other projects that they are working on and honestly could even be bigger than Starfield. We know that The Elder Scrolls 6 is the next game BGS is making, and Todd has already pointed out that they want it to last even longer than Skyrim has. That is crazy if you really think about it, because Skyrim has given us so much playtime, but The Elder Scrolls 6 is definitely one I'm excited to see more on. We have already gotten confirmation of the game after that too, with Fallout 5 coming a couple years later. Even though these products are still a long way from release, with some even speculating that we won't get a new Fallout game till we hit the 2030s, it is still good to see that Bethesda is looking towards the future and bring back some fan favorite franchises as soon as possible. Starfield has been above and beyond one of, if not the game I'm most excited for. There are a lot of different features for the game that are unique and fleshed out and looks to be something that I can sink countless hours into. Even though we still have a little ways to go until we can play it for ourselves, it is good to finally get some confirmation about when it will actually be released. These are just a few details we know of as of right now, and I'm sure we will be seeing a lot more on Starfield during the direct and leading up to its eventual launch. But that is all for me now though, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, comment any videos you want to see in the future, and I'll see you all next time.